That's a true story. I got sent an inspiration many years ago by my dear friend and mentor, Reverend Christopher Ian Chenoweth, and he told that story. It had been reported in a newspaper somewhere, and for years I thought, I need to write a song about that, and I struggled with it for a long time until I went to Scotland, and I thought, that's the melody that I need, is something sort of Celtic, really worked with it. And anyway, yeah, we're all ringing bells for each other. Even if you don't know you're ringing a bell for anyone, you are, I promise. I promise you are. So ring it loud and clear. Don't hide it under a bushel. So today we are focusing on our pet blessing, and I'm so happy to see so many pets here. And we will certainly bless the ones that need to be blessed from a distance, like mine. But really, really glad to see all of you here with your animals. So the first thing is to own how much we are already blessed by them. That's why we do a pet blessing, because every day that we own a pet, we are blessed. We are blessed by them, sometimes in ways that we wouldn't particularly prefer. Sometimes the blessing comes as a challenge. Like a couple of weeks ago when, for no reason that I know of, my cat peed in my slippers right by the bed, and I put my feet into them the next morning and went, yeah. I'm sure there's a blessing in there somewhere. I'll let you know when I find out what it is. My slippers got cleaned. Maybe that's what he was trying to tell me. We need to clean these slippers. So there are certain things, blessings that are obvious for us. Our pets provide us with companionship. We are not alone. We're never alone. But it feels good to us humans to have a physical body with us that lets us know that we're not alone. During COVID, everybody that I talked to that talked to me about how difficult it was to be isolated, and it was so difficult to be isolated, I made the suggestion that perhaps if you don't have a pet, you might go to a shelter and get one, because they can help you feel so much less isolated. The other thing that our pets give us, and if they're not peeing in our shoes, is loyalty. I had this cat named Dudley Do Right, and he did right until he did wrong. But when I had my first orthopedic surgery, I had a rotator cuff repair, and I'd never had surgery before, and I'd never been down before, and I'd never been in pain like that before. And even though he was kind of a man about town, he was an indoor, outdoor, go all around, boss all the other cats around kind of a guy, the entire time that I was recovering from that surgery, he was within 6 feet of me, I swear. Bob took pictures of me during that time, and I'm there in my big purple blanket, and Dudley's here, or Dudley's here, or Dudley's here, or Dudley's on my feet. He stayed by me. That kind of loyalty, you can't buy that kind of loyalty, but you can get it at the shelter. The other way that they bless us, and this is no small thing, this is why we put up with some of the challenges, they just entertain us. Pets are entertaining because you know why? They're different from us. They think differently from us. And to watch how they act out, how they're thinking versus how we're thinking about a situation is often really, really entertaining. And thus all the TikTok kitten videos and bunny videos and dog videos, but they're entertaining. And pets, actually, when we pet a pet, we are making connections. Our serotonin, it creates those synapses that allow us to be calmed. And I had a cat for a while. Actually, I still have the cat. He doesn't like to sit in my lap as much anymore. But part of my morning meditation, at first it was like, I need to get rid of this cat so I can meditate. And then I realized, this cat is part of my meditation. Here he is, warm and comforting, and that's what they do for us. They provide us with serotonin. They provide us with loyalty. They provide us with companionship. They provide us with love. with unconditional love. They example that for us. The other thing they provide us with is examples. Pets are friends with each other. Not every pet loves every other pet, but it is inspiring to see how some of them pair or get in groups together and are really loyal for the rest of their lives. I had a cat when I was growing up named Sugar, and a couple of years after we got Sugar, we got Ralph. Sugar was a very dignified Siamese, and Ralph was a very undignified orange tabby. And they spent the next 17 and a half years together. And Sugar was very ill the last few years of his life. But we gave him the meds, and he just did fine day after day after day. And then Ralph got sick and suddenly died, and Sugar was gone within 2 days after that. He walked around for 2 days looking for him, going from room to room to room. I'm looking for him. They were pals, but we all know how this feels when we've suffered a major loss. And for people to say that animals don't experience emotion is ridiculous to me. Of course they do. Of course they do. Another thing that they example for us is that animals follow naturally the energy and rest cycles. They are not artificially energetic. They never say when they're on the couch, well, been here long enough, I guess I better get up and do something, or I'm worthless. Didn't do anything today. They rest when it's time to rest. They run around when it's time to run around. They eat when it's time, except for Labradors who will eat without stopping. Most animals also regulate what they eat. They'll eat when they're hungry, and they won't eat when they're not hungry. They provide us with this way. They are in touch with their bodies. They have not allowed their minds to separate them from the beautiful animal of their bodies the way that we have, the way that we forget to listen to our bodies, that we forget to listen to those natural cycles of rest, that we say, I shouldn't be tired. And so, therefore, even if we are tired, we don't rest because we shouldn't be. Imagine your cat saying, I shouldn't be sleeping right now. It would never happen. It would never happen. And so they beautifully example that for us. This is a quote by Mary Oliver that brings tears to my eyes every time I read it. She says, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Wow. Could it be that simple? Could it be that simple that if we really, really listened to ourselves, we would automatically do what was the next right thing to do without having to think about it so hard, without having to justify it or defend it or figure it out, but just to naturally do it if we're truly in touch with ourselves. The soft animal of your body loving what it loves just brings tears to my eyes. The other things that animals, some animals, not all, or all, maybe all of them, and we just haven't figured out how some of them do it, but animals are happy. Many, many animals are happiest when they're in service, when they have a job to do. Anybody ever have an Australian Shepherd or a Blue Heeler or any kind of cattle dog and try to keep them in the house and try to not let them go out and do what they're supposed to do, what they were bred to do? They get really antsy and they eat all your stuff and tear it up. Because what they want to do is herd things. They want to herd things. It works really well if you have young children. We used to have, my aunt had an Australian Shepherd, and the kids would be out in the yard. She had a great big pasture, really. The kids would be out there playing, doing their own thing, all these, kids from the extended family. And we'd notice they'd get closer and closer and closer together until eventually they're all like in a bundle, and the dog is circling them. Dogs are happy when they have a job to do. So many people are helped in our world by service dogs, and service animals. There are other kinds of animals besides just dogs. Dogs are especially good at it. When we find the ones who really want a job to do and give them a job to do, they thrive. They thrive. They like being responsible for something, and we do too. We do too. We like to have a purpose in life. We like to have a purpose. Sometimes we translate that purpose into, well, I've rested long enough. I need to do something or I'm not worth anything. It's not that. It's listen to the soft animal of your body. What engages you? What makes you excited? What makes you want to do it? Go do that. And then you don't have to worry about trying to be good. You will be good when you follow your gifts. The thing that animals are genius at, and if we could learn only this one thing, just this one tiny thing, is they live right now. They don't live yesterday. They don't live tomorrow. They live right now. That's it. That's it. And that's why animals can be quite abused by their humans and still come running to the human, like maybe this time it's not going to happen. Because they're not holding on to grudges. You're already forgiven. And I'm talking about there with extreme cases of cruelty, but most of us are not cruel to our animals. I hope the people in this room, we know better. And yet we're not always our best selves. My dog Molly wants attention often when I don't feel like giving Molly attention. I'm drinking my coffee. Go away, Molly. And when I catch myself doing that, she's a great teacher for me because I go, wait a minute. I chose this animal. I chose to bring her into my home. I chose for her to live with me. I love her. So why am I putting her off? Let me drink this cup of coffee and then I'll pet you. And when I remember, when she reminds me, just by Molly's gift is being pretty. That's her gift. Her gift is probably not being smart, but her gift is being pretty. And she will remind me, I'm giving you my best right now. Can you give me a crumb in return? And you can drink coffee and pet a dog at the same time. I'm just saying. So it's good for me. I've taken that as a reminder. Oh yeah, she's reminding me that, because it's not about the drinking coffee. It's about all of the thoughts in my head. I'm planning, I'm reviewing, I'm being all kinds of other places besides where I am. And she brings me back to, you are sitting in this chair and you have a beautiful creature in front of you who loves you and who is asking for something very small from you. And when you give it to her, you will be as blessed or more blessed than she by the giving. I mean, having somebody in your house that reminds you of that on a regular basis without calling you any names or saying you're a bad person is awesome. Is awesome. They teach us so much. They teach us about responsibility. That's why so often parents decide at a certain age that it's time for their child to take responsibility for a pet, to realize that we are responsible to each other. Some of us are wearing the bell, some of us are following the bell, but the ones who are following the bell are giving our gifts in other ways. We all are responsible to each other. And when we learn that as children, it serves us well for the rest of our lives. They teach us the hardest lesson of all. They teach us loss and that we can survive it. Because when we choose to take one of these creatures into our lives, most of whom have a shorter lifespan than we do, we are going to lose them unless we die an untimely death. With the day you get the puppy, you're pretty sure the day is going to come that you're going to lose the puppy. The day you get the kitty cat, 18 years down the road, somewhere between 10 and 20 years down the road, you're going to lose that cat. And yet, what they teach us is it's okay to love completely and fully. You don't have to guard against the loss. You get to love full out. And then when you love full out, yeah, your grief will show you how much you loved. The grief that we feel when we've had a loss is a measure of how much we loved. And so they teach us that. And it's not easy. But look at us. How many of you have learned that lesson over and over and over and over again? And yet many of us still choose to have them in our lives. They teach us about loss, and they teach us unconditional love. What they teach us, even with their loss, is that love doesn't stop because the object of love is lost. The love I have for my animals who have passed on is still alive in me. And I don't know where they are. I don't know if animals have souls. I bet they have something more than just their bodies, but I have no idea. But the love that we engaged in during their lifetimes is alive in me. The lessons they taught me are alive in me. And yes, I grieve the loss of their company, but I know that the love doesn't go away. Animals are a test of character. How we treat them tests our character. It's like I say, it's a litmus test for me. Am I being in the present moment? Because if I am, I'm happy to pet Molly when she comes to me. If I'm not in the present moment, if I'm somewhere else, usually drilling down, you've got to do this, got to do this, got to think about that, then I'm not. And so I get maybe not my entire character tested, but I get tested, I get challenged on a daily basis. Are you going to live what you believe, which is that the only moment that actually exists is this one? That's what I believe, but do I live that way? I have reminders in my house. That Molly, I'm just using Molly as an example because she's the one that the moment I get up in the morning is right there in my face. The others do the same. And also, have you ever found that your dog or cat seems to know more about the new person that came into your household than you do? They tend to respond to energy rather than words. We can let people's words convince us of their motives, whereas animals, I think, are in tune with people's energy. And we allow words often to override what our energetic body already knows. So watch that. It's a very interesting thing. I have found that people who don't like cats are the first person my cats go up to. And they're like, I'm going to give you a gift of learning to love creatures. There are differences in the way we think. I talked about that before, and I did a lot of research into this, most of which I'm not going to share, but it's fascinating. And if you've never read any of Temple Grandin's books, she is an autistic woman who writes about animals, who's devoted her life to helping animals, and who writes about them very interestingly and quotes all kinds of studies. And humans have what we call inattentional blindness, which is that if we're not expecting to see something, we don't see it. We don't see it. You see, can you think of examples in your life of how often that's true? It's like, I didn't see it. I didn't expect it to be there, so I didn't see it. We have car accidents because we didn't see something because we didn't expect it to be there. Animals don't have that because they are right where they are. It's another facet of being completely present. Whereas those of us who think in language rather than just receiving direct messages, we're living in a world of concepts. We make a concept about something, and now we're one step removed from that thing. And we can't change the way our brains work, but we can pay attention. This is called inattentional blindness, which means that we can still see all those things if we're paying attention. Animals pay attention naturally. It's harder for us. It's harder for us to pay attention. They don't think abstractly. They see what is. We tend to think abstractly. And the other thing is we generalize. Animals don't. They're very specific. They're very specific. Another thing that has evolved in animals, which is really, really important for us to remember, is that fear is a learned condition. It is not innate. It is not instinctive. Fear is what animals, their parents at a very young age teach them what to be afraid of and what is safe. Fear is not innate. We learn it. So think of the things in your life that scare you and know that you learn to fear them, and know this too, and it's really proven in the animal kingdom. Fear is contagious. Fear is contagious. An animal doesn't have to have faced a danger or had any negative result of facing a danger in order to fear that thing. If its friend or its mother acts fearful in the presence of that thing, whether it's a benign thing or not, if they act fearful because they had a bad experience, then the other animal will be fearful as well. Y'all, look at our world. Look at our world. And let it bring you to some compassion, because we have had a lot of people intentionally and unintentionally teaching fear. And we can see that when it's the people that are fearing something that we think that's ridiculous. Of course, that's not a scary thing. It's not a scary thing for people of the same gender to get married. Why would that be scary? But people who think it is have learned it from somebody, and they believe it just as strongly. And so we can have a little compassion. It doesn't mean we don't move forward to do what is right, but we can have some compassion, and we can also learn that not fearing something is contagious also. Love is contagious. You can't make somebody accept it, but if you expose them to it a lot, they can catch it, just like a virus. Love is contagious, just the way fear is. And so our lesson from that is to know that, yes, whatever it is that we are giving an example of in the world, others are learning it from us. So be careful what it is we are giving examples of. Let the fear not, let me see, how do I want to say this? Examine the fears that you have. Examine the fears that you have. Are they really your fears? Do you actually have living proof, experience that this thing is dangerous to you? Or has someone else told you that it is, someone that you trusted and you believed them? I think a lot of the things that I fear right now are likely to never happen, and yet I use my energy fearing them. And there are things, many of them, that have never happened, certainly have never happened to me. So why am I using my energy to fear something that has never happened? And who am I spreading that fear to without being aware of it? And how can I spread love instead? It is clear to me that we wouldn't be who we are. There's a lot of science about how we co-evolved with animals. It used to be thought that humans have been with dogs for 14,000 years, that they have been a part of our community, serving us and co-evolving with us for 14,000 years. More research has come to light that we were just measuring the dog bones that were buried with the people bones and that were in the same place. We had domesticated wolves for 100,000 years before that. And those domesticated wolves evolved into what we know as the modern dog. And so now we see when a bunch of wolf bones are buried with a bunch of human bones, that just isn't random, that it happens way too often to be coincidence, that even though they weren't with what we call dogs yet, they were with wolves, that we co-evolved. And here's a really interesting thing. It's the last piece of science I'm going to get you, but it's really interesting. As we evolve, certain parts of our brains grow and certain parts shrink. As dogs, wolves have co-evolved along with us, certain parts of their brains have grown and certain parts have shrunk. The parts of our brains that have shrunk are the direct sensory input parts. Because we have these animals along with us, we learn to rely on their senses, on their smelling, on their taking a look at the situation and letting us know what was going on. And meanwhile, while that was happening, while our sensory brains were shrinking a little bit, our our conceptual brains were growing. We were getting more and more able to think in abstract, which means we get to make maps, which means we take information that we have and we extrapolate it into a completely different situation and know how to behave or to proceed in that situation because we have this abstract thinking capability. Dogs' sensory parts grew about 10%, and their frontal lobe shrank by about 10%. When we took over, hey, we're gonna take care of you as far as these things are concerned. You just keep a nose out for what's going on. That's a gross oversimplification, but it's fascinating that we didn't evolve and they evolved. We evolved together. Isn't that, what kind of God comes up with that? The mysteries of this universe are so far beyond what we could even make up on our best days. And that in itself gives me hope and gives me delight and gives me joy. And so it's clear we wouldn't be who we are without them. So let's take a moment to bless them directly. So what I'm going to ask for is that if you brought an animal with you who is able to, maybe bring it up into a little half circle up here so that I can face them. And if you have an animal at home, either one that you are steward of, I hate to say own, the one that you are bearing responsibility for at this time, or there's another animal in your life who gives you great meaning, or there's somebody who has passed on, whose love you still carry in your heart. Hold that as well as we do this. Joe. And who is this? Radar. Hi, Radar. Hi. This is such a good dog. Who is this? Pippa. Hi, Pippa. Hey, Pippa. Pippa. This is my favorite Sunday of the year. It's almost as good as Christmas. And this is Cowboy. And this is Missy. Hi, Missy. Hi, Missy. And this is
Banyan.
Banyan. Hi, Banyan. Banyan and Missy are getting together over here. And these are?
This is Zara.
Zara. Hi, Zara. Hi, Zara. And these are? Blue. Maribel. And Kiki. All right. I've said their names out loud. I'm going to say, bless these pets. And I'm going to ask you to say the name out loud of any pet that you would like to bless right now. Benito, Antonio, Heidi, Molly, and Isabel. And Grizzly. I'm not saying all the names because it would take forever, but I'm holding in my mind the vision of the animals that I've lost over the years who have been so much to me. Great Creator, we ask that you bless these pets as we have been blessed by them. Breathe the breath of life into them so that they may be healthy and vital. Shine your light upon them so that they may be safe from harm. Allow your life-giving love to flow through them and through us so that we may care for them as you care for us. Help us to learn their ways so that we can be like them in love, in loyalty, in presence, and in openness. Bless these pets as they bless us. And finally, dear God, bless us so that we may know that we are worthy of the unconditional love you offer to us every day through these animals. Help us to truly receive this love, to give it back again, and to share it out in the world. We are so grateful for all of this love. And so it is. Amen. 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 So we're just going to do a very short meditation today. It's called an arrow meditation. Let's pierce right to the heart of it. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to love and live in the soft animal of your body. All that is required, all that is asked, is that we be present to what is in this moment. To allow that soft animal of our bodies to love what it loves. In the same way that animals instinctively love what they love and don't question it. Allow us in this moment to be present to what it is, to whatever is now in this moment. Present to our breathing, present to this body that we've been given to navigate this human world in. Present to our hearts that are infinitely able to open, to give and receive love. Present to this moment in time when we are together in this room, together with these pets, together with each other, together with the one love, because we are remembering it right now. We're being reminded of who we are, and when we're present in this moment, we can feel it, we can know it. And so we simply breathe in this moment of presence, knowing we're in the right place at the right time. There is no other place or time except right now, right here. Just where we are supposed to be. And that the next place and the next time will reveal itself without our having to struggle. And when we know this, we rest in this now moment, this right here moment where all of the love that ever was and ever will be is available to us now. No waiting. And we simply consent to that love in this moment and allow it to bless us so that we may be blessings to the world. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.